and we were coming to the end of it. And he said, "You see that shed up there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's where I'm going to hide your body after I kill you and chop you up."
The original Golden Bachelor, Gerry Turner, and his now ex-wife, Teresa Nist, are embroiled in a very public feud in an ugly war of words, stemming from a memoir that Gerry released recently that apparently painted Teresa in a very bad light. And now she's responding to all of that, and with quite the surprising twist. The entire premise of The Golden Bachelor was that it was supposed to be the wholesome reality show. It was supposed to be about second chances at love. But that entire image has just been completely shattered. Gerry Turner, the very first Golden Bachelor, and his now ex-wife Teresa Nist are now in a nasty public fight after Gerry released a tell-all memoir painting her in a pretty bad light. Teresa now says she's been forced to set the record straight, and her side of the story is dark. She's now alleging verbal abuse, constant criticism, a volatile temper, and one of the most bizarre and specific threats we've ever heard. This all exploded after Gerry Turner released his new book, Golden Years: What I've Learned from Love, Loss, and Reality TV. In that book, Gerry describes a lot of stress in their brief 3-month marriage. He claims Teresa misrepresented her finances, details a tense prenup showdown before their TV wedding, and strongly implies that he was being manipulated. Gerry also wrote that he felt trapped in the decision to marry her and admitted he still gets emotional over the runner-up, Leslie Fima. But that book was the final straw for Teresa Nist. She just went on the Dear Shandy podcast and did not hold back. She told the host she is extremely upset and claims Gerry's version of the story is pure fiction. She said, quote,
"Not one of the stories that I have read is the way it happened, and some of it is conjured up in your mind."
Making matters worse, Nist revealed that Gerry apparently started writing the critical memoir while they were still together. She said she's cried a lot over this, but felt she had to speak out.
I would have never said anything. I was keeping this all to myself. But
And
when
that's what
someone
Gerry
accuses
probably
you
thought.
of things that you didn't do and recounts stories in ways that it didn't happen, I finally had to say something.
Teresa then described a relationship that sounds absolutely nothing like fans saw on TV. She claims the charming, wholesome grandpa from the show was a very different person behind closed doors. She said, quote,
Overall, Gerry called me names. He criticized me. He put me down. At one point, he said, "I don't want to hear your opinion." He called me an East Coast snob, something I'd never even heard before. There were so many incidences of him having a temper and getting mad at things that I did.
Nist alleges that the trouble started almost immediately, claiming Gerry yelled at me the day after their televised wedding. She summed up their dynamics saying, quote,
I would say half the time I was in front of the person I saw on the show.
Yeah.
And then half the time I really never knew what he was going to get mad at and when the next shoe was going to drop.
But the single most disturbing allegation is a story that Teresa recalled from a visit to Gerry's lake house. She described walking around a place called Pretty Lake when Gerry pointed to a building. This is her exact account from the podcast. She said,
and we were coming to the end of it. And he said, "You see that shed up there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, that's where I'm going to hide your body after I kill you and chop you up."
Teresa made it a point to say that Gerry wasn't laughing when he said it. She explained her reaction on the podcast. Quote,
I said, well, if this was his idea of a joke, that was pretty dark humor. I just felt like there was animosity in that statement that was underlying, like
Right.
maybe if he could have gotten rid of me or somehow.
Now, to be clear, Nist added that she doesn't believe that he would have actually killed her. She said, quote, "It just spoke to an underlying feeling about me." Now, as for Gerry's claim in the book that he felt trapped and was still hung up on the runner-up, Leslie, Teresa's response to that was blunt. She said, quote,
You should have called off the wedding, no matter that we were on TV. That didn't matter. This was our lives. You should have stopped it. And if you really wanted to be with Leslie, I would have applauded it. I would have supported you. I would have been so happy.
But in the age of these dating shows, this all happened at lightning speed. They filmed it in August of 2023, and they were married by January 4th, 2024. And then just 3 months later, on April 12th, they shocked everyone by announcing their divorce on Good Morning America. At the time, they blamed the split on not being able to agree on where to live. Her in New Jersey, him in Indiana. Now, it's painfully clear there was a lot more going on behind the surface. Gerry Turner, for his part, has moved on. In October, he announced that he's now engaged to a new girlfriend, Lana Sutton. And this is all happening as he also battles a recent diagnosis, which he revealed is an incurable bone marrow cancer. As of this recording, Gerry's team has not issued a public comment on Teresa's disturbing allegations. But it seems like most of the time on these shows like The Bachelor, it doesn't end up working out. Let me know what you all think down in the comments.